Hi, welcome to the Strategic Risk Mind podcast. I'm Joe Anderson, your host, and we're excited to have you here today. I have the opportunity to have as my guest Jennifer Lastra, founder and CEO with 360 Immersive. Very excited to have you here, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So Jennifer and I met a while back and just have a common passion for making things interesting and fun in risk management and safety. And so that was a fun way to hit it off. And I thought, Jennifer, maybe you could start off by sharing a little bit about your background, kind of what you like to do outside of work. Give us some interesting details.
Oh, as an entrepreneur, is there life outside of work? I'm not really sure. So I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, which I'm super, super proud of. It was really the foundation that helped me figure out what my purpose is. So shipboard electrician, and then I spent a lot of time in shipbuilding.
Okay.
I was a yard bird. I was a shipyard worker
Nice.
on the USS Ronald Reagan. For any of our
really cool.
military buffs out there.
Yeah.
So really proud of that. Spent some time in the night vision industry, which was really interesting. So on the manufacturing side of things. And I learned a lot about what I don't want to do, which led me to what I do want to do, which is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And really following my passion for service, number one. That's the foundation. And then really focusing on the things that I have experienced in my life and in my career of where I thought things were broken.
Yeah.
And not trying to reinvent the wheel, but find the areas where I know that if we could make a change, specifically, this relates back to training and education, that we could save lives.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about what gets us excited and why we kind of got excited when we met each other is that passion for
That's right.
helping people and helping organizations have the best, culture that they can create for their workforce. I mean, it's huge. So
It is a really big deal, and I think sometimes, we take things for granted in our country, our freedoms, some of those things, and on the workforce, we may take for granted the safe situations we're in, because sometimes there might be an unsafe situation that doesn't present itself all the time, right? It might just be unsafe, and then all of a sudden one day. And so it's such an interesting thing to think about, like being able to think ahead, plan ahead, reverse engineer some things on the safety side, and then be able to go, wow, this could have a dramatic impact one day on somebody's life, right?
yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, I think we call it like low incidence, high risk, and risk management. Is it called something similar to that? Those types of instances?
Yeah,
where...
frequency, severity is kind of what we use, similar stuff. And the rule of thumb on our end with losses is that frequency predicts severity. I like to tell my clients when I was a broker that imprinted on the forehead of every underwriter is frequency predicts severity. And so if you have a lot of claims, they're just looking for the big one to come around the corner. And so it's the same kind of thing on the safety side, right? You're in the prevention space, minimization space maybe too, right? Well, at Fortify Risk, kind of one of our steps is to look at a high level overview of risk. I like to refer to it like a risk heat map or like an aerial view, like you're looking at buying a piece of land or something. And then we kind of map out, like, here's major categories of risk, and here's how you measure up. Maybe you're strong on these ones and weak on these ones.
Yeah.
So if we identified workplace safety as a major risk improvement area, how would your VR safety programs, your virtual reality safety programs, help in that regard?
So I know that training is kind of like a lower, so we look at like hierarchy of controls, right? And training is maybe under the administrative control or something to that effect, right? Where it's, what I see is our training brings in JHAs. We're not just teaching people how to identify hazards. We're also helping them understand the control mechanisms for them.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're using these immersive experiences. Again, looks like, sounds like, feels like a warehouse or a construction environment. And what we're focusing in on are those very specific instances. So let's take a job loss. sorry, where somebody's been injured, we've captured data.
Yeah.
A loss report.
Okay.
Is that what's
Loss
it called?
run, yeah.
A loss run. Okay. And so maybe we're looking at loss runs and we're looking at areas of frequency where these are occurring. So let's say maybe it's around ladder safety or forklift safety.
Yeah.
So what our training is really ideal for is organizations that want to hone in on like one or two or their top two loss recordables, and look at those and see how they can improve upon their safety training, specifically when it comes to hazard recognition, controls, kind of almost bringing the training in real time on the job.
Yeah.
And so they're able to put on a VR headset, or instructors are able to just take even like a toolbox talk or a safety briefing and turn that into really an opportunity for education, where we can give these learners an experience and say, okay, now verbally call out the hazards that you see. Now verbally tell me what type of control mechanisms could we put in place to prevent these from happening. So it's being way more proactive as opposed to checking the box for compliance.
That's so good, because we talk about on our end very similar concept, identification, notification, remediation. Those are the three pieces or three steps you have to take when you're dealing with a hazard. First, you have to see it.
Yeah.
Then you have to notify other people about it so they don't get hurt in the meantime. Yeah. And then you got to fix it, right? And I think that piece of it is so important, but being able to kind of do that on the fly when you're kind of going through rooms and stuff in VR could be really interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. So you mentioned something too, and I wanted to get back to this about the different senses, and that's really important to me too. I'm a kinesthetic learner, which means I like to touch things, and I remember writing things, and I'm like doing.
Yeah.
Other people are auditory, visual, right? Different types of learners, and if we can attack all of those areas in one training or hit on all of those areas in some way, we're going to engage more people different ways. So if I'm engaged 2 or 3 ways versus one, it's usually going to stick better, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's very interesting to see just, what is it that that we can do to try to engage people when they're going through trainings. And you talked about something that I really resonate to, and it's this checkbox culture. And I just think it's such a great term. And we've kind of looked at how do we make our trainings less static, right? Less kind of like show up, take a test, you're done. And how do your programs build a different kind of culture in an environment of training versus a checkbox? Hey, I went through my list of things, I checked them off, I met the requirements, I'm done. What's different about how your trainings function?
A lot of traditional safety training, and specifically I'm talking about like OSHA 10 style trainings, they could be very generic in nature. And right there, any learner is like, I got to sit through 10 hours of this.
Yeah.
This is not geared towards me. It's not reflective of daily work. And automatically you're already checking a box, right, of just the same old same. And so what we're encouraging organizations to do is to see that there are programs and organizations like mine that are embracing technology and using it in ways that truly target the behavior modification piece.
Okay.
So we're not just talking about your ladder has to be, 3 feet above a trench box for egress. We're not talking about don't daisy chain, construction cords together, construction cords. What are they called? Electrical cords together.
Yeah.
So it's not so much the do's and don'ts. While that is important, it's now how do you create scenarios and put the learners in these scenarios of daily work. Well, they will come into contact with those types of do's and don'ts, if that makes sense. So really,
that makes a lot of sense.
Give them experiences, and it goes back to the power of VR, which is you can create an experience and an emotional connection. Looks like, sounds like, feels like daily work.
Yeah.
And then give them those scenarios that they're most likely to come into contact with. Or if it's low incidence, high risk type scenarios, right? Those are very dangerous.
Yes.
So now how do we let them go into these simulations and let them practice?
Which they're never going to see really most of the time.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
Right.
a great point. You know, one of the things that you kind of mentioned as you were talking about that is this idea of letting people experience something and have their own thoughts and their own solutions versus telling them what the answers are. And I think that's a fundamental difference in how we learn. And when you look at classroom settings and trainings and all these things, there's so many of them now where you just get the answer. Online, on the video games,
sure.
you get the answer. It's not creating independent thought. And so, you know, what if a different scenario comes up than you trained on? Well, you need to be not only training on that scenario, but you're training the mind. And you're getting the mind trained to look for safety hazards and to ask good questions and to come up with good solutions,
Yeah,
right?
right,
And I think
right.
that's a really important piece, that trainings that are interactive, like the VR headset training, is so good at, versus like sitting in a classroom and you're talking to an expert and you just have all the answers. It's like, it doesn't really require me to think at all.
Right.
I'm just listening and absorbing, if I'm absorbing much of it at all. And I think it's such a great thing. And we look at learning, and it's kind of like, how do I help my kids ask good questions? How do I help my kids problem solve? And with our employees and our workforces, we're trying to do the same thing. We want problem solvers, because the same problem isn't going to present itself every day.
Right. And then there's all these underlying factors. So I love that you brought up problem solving, critical thinking. Those skills are very difficult to teach someone when it comes to site safety and awareness, right? Those are things that you have to experience yourself.
That's right.
Well, VR and gamification can give that experience. So that's kind of one piece of it. But I think what's really powerful is that when we are dealing with learners where English may not be their first language, these may be people who are brand new to the industry and have zero experience in,
Yes.
and again, my emphasis, because of my experience, is construction, warehouse, manufacturing.
Sure.
Today at least. But the idea is how can we create or recreate these scenarios where anybody, especially people who may be neurodivergent, so let's say we have people ADHD, dyslexic, you know, on the spectrum, whatever, we've to be as inclusive as we can and to find qualified people to come work in these industries, we've got to give them training that meets them, whatever their blended learning style may be, whatever their preference may be. And so giving them those experiences and serving it up however they need to consume that information is very, very powerful and empowering. And that's probably the biggest part for me, is how do we set people up for success?
Well,
How do we help them stay confident in the
It's
workplace?
no fun when after an accident happens, everyone goes, well, why'd you do it that way?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I never was trained and I don't know what to do. And I mean, now it's like, it's not empowering at all. It's like deflating, right? It's the opposite of empowering. So it's like, okay, how do we switch that narrative? How do we help people feel like, oh, I've had enough, I've gone through this a few times. I know what to do. I feel confident, right? That just creates this, it builds that. And it also builds a culture of resiliency in the workforce, right? Where people are resilient people. So now they're thinking about, hey, I'm a problem solver at work. Maybe I can problem solve at home. Maybe I can problem solve in the world, you know, my family, all these other areas. I just think there's such a great ripple effect. So
I love that you said that, because we've got injuries and fatalities at work are the exact same ones that can happen at home, right? And talking a little bit more about, I wanted to add one other thing.
Yeah, please do.
There's the nuances in a scenario of day, night, raining, heat extreme, cold extreme, tired, recovering from a really fun Sunday night football game, maybe you know, on a Monday morning, sleep deprived, distracted, upset. There's all of these different human factors that come into play. And when we create scenarios, we're also bringing in not just the safety aspect of it, but the personal safety of your own not just physical safety, but personal safety. How is your mindset right now? And helping people understand that, and bringing in all different types of environmental factors as well. And so what an amazing opportunity to really give people full experiences, and not just the cookie cutter static ones, but just the kind of the one-off situations. Because, and my last thought on that is if we can capture their attention at work in safety training, we believe that we can create more well-rounded individuals that then take that safety training back home with them, and those skills that we're helping them develop about self-awareness as well.
I love it. And, I've been kind of wondering, do you have like an example of a client that you've implemented this with? I'm sure you do. I have a few. I have probably a bunch of them. But give us maybe one example of a client that was kind of in that static training level and they started working with you. And tell me what kind of happens, and maybe kind of just a case study or something.
Yeah, well, I really love working with trainers within organizations, safety personnel within organizations, because there's nothing like getting an email that says, we pulled out your VR simulations, and as we came back after break, we threw a couple people in a VR headset, had one on the TV where people could see what everybody, what other people were looking at, and just the conversation, the dialogue, just people engaging with one another, and not just sitting there waiting for the the instructor to get going again.
But so you get to have a watch party. That's what you're telling me.
Well, I mean, it's like, but people are like actively engaging in discussion, and I want to do that again. That was really cool. Holy cow! Like, I felt that. I felt that trench collapse. I felt that. Wow. Like that's impactful.
That is really cool.
And I think it's just the point of having the unexpected come in for the classroom. And some people are, I don't want to put on a VR headset. Well, you know what? We create our training content so you don't need a VR headset. You can pull out an iPad, a tablet, use your desktop. The most immersive experience is going to be in a VR headset, but a lot of organizations don't have that. Don't have those assets. But just the idea of just the dialogue and conversation generating. What would be cool is if you guys could get your scenario to do this, this, and this, right? Like, we get all that feedback, like other ideas.
That's really cool.
And so it just continues to build the dialogue. And when you have open, candid conversation about hazards, and you know what? I've seen that in our own workplace. And then they start listing all the places where they think that hazard, where those circumstances could be showing up.
You're like presenting a hazard, and then they're just multiplying in their mind, like going, this pinged here. It's kind of like saying, do you know anybody that would like to do business with me? Or saying, do you know a person who works in semiconductor work on memory for cell phones? Because if you get really specific, then they would think of people. But if you don't, they won't think of anybody. And I think it's the same thing with safety training. I mean, I think the fact that you're giving them a specific experience with details is so critical.
Well, and then there's always the errors and omissions, right? Like, what else did you see? So these environments can give trainers a playground to play in and say, what other hazards do you see in this environment? Because we may be just specifically talking about caught in and caught between hazards or struck by hazards.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of stuff going in those environments, and it's like, go hunt. Like, go see what you can find. Like, let's see how many you can list out.
That's really cool.
There's some Easter eggs in there, and we'll just say that.
I came up with a safety scenario when I was in brokerage, insurance brokerage, and I called it the Where's Waldo scenario.
Oh yeah.
And I said, go put things around and then have people come and pick them out. That kind of reminded me of what you're talking about, right? And it's fun when you can make things a game or make them exciting or a contest, because it gets people a little bit less focused on this is a boring safety training, or why do I have to do this, right? And it gets it more engaged. So I just love that. Jennifer, this is such an exciting company. It just gets me, I'm interested, and it's fascinating to see that you're doing some things that just aren't done, right? A lot of times. And really trying to engage people in being safer in the workplace and making it fun and making it exciting. So we really appreciate you coming on our show today. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of just give you the last word if you have any thoughts or tips for folks on the safety side.
If you haven't updated your safety training in the last 5 years, you're already behind the curve. Organizations post-COVID, so much has changed in our workforce, which is already hugely dynamic.
Yeah.
With the way that the world is today, we're always on our toes, even more so than ever before. And just the pace of change that's taking place on the horizon, it doesn't look like that's going to slow down anytime soon.
No, it doesn't.
And so for any trainer or organization out there, your workforce is your biggest asset. And finding a way to invest in them and at the same time, bring value back into your organization that you can measure. It's measurable with reduced serious injuries and fatalities, lost time, all of that. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your organization, to the bottom line, but most importantly, to your workforce. They deserve better, and there's a lot of different types of opportunities out there to bring these training aids into your organization. And so
I love it.
Do your due diligence. Go check it out.
Thanks, Jennifer. And that's a wrap for the Strategic Risk Mind. Join us next week. We'll look forward to it. Have a great rest of the week.